It's Monday, December 16th, 2024. Thank you so much for joining me today. I want to thank everybody who just recently subscribed. I want to thank everybody who watches this channel on a daily basis. We had some very, very nice growth this month. We just passed 203,000 subscribers, and I want to thank all of you for that. This is not possible without you. You know, somebody wrote last night, I cannot believe this guy is asking people to subscribe to his channel. Can you believe the audacity of this man to be asking people to subscribe to his channel? Now, I don't know why you would have a YouTube channel if you didn't want people to subscribe to it, if you didn't want people to watch it, and you didn't want your channel to grow. The only way this channel grows is by people watching it, subscribing to it, sharing it, and I want to thank everybody for that. And even the trolls, some of my most loyal followers, I want to thank every one of you also. But if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and share these videos everywhere. Now, getting into reality. I don't even want to talk about the drones today. I'm droned out. Nobody's telling us anything. If they know anything, they're not telling us. There's just so much speculation out there. There's so many rumors. There's so many theories of what is going on. I just don't think it's good when things like this are happening and nobody can give us a straight answer. It's just speculation. So maybe at some point we'll find out what's going on. But it's unbelievable what is taking place as far as these drones. And yet our politicians, law enforcement, military, nobody seems to know anything. You should not feel too safe in America now. Our national security has been jeopardized, in my opinion. But I want to talk a little bit more about the economy and what's happening here. There was an article on The Hedge today, the big shining lie, we're better off now. You know, when you turn on the television, when you watch these economists, when you watch these people in $3,000 suits, they tell all of us how much better off we are today than we were 40, 50 years ago. And I can tell you that is a complete and utter lie. It doesn't matter what the wage, it says here, it doesn't matter what the wage or price numbers are. What matters is how much can you buy with an hour's wage. In 1977, it took this according to the author, it took 2.25 days, 18 hours to pay his monthly rent, according to Charles Hugh Smith, the author of this article. You would need to make $60 to $90 an hour today to do that. In 1985, it took 4 hours of work to pay my individual health care insurance premium for the month, $54. Today, it would take 87 hours. Home insurance took just a few days. Now, depending where you live, what your home insurance is, it takes a lot more than a few days to make the home insurance bill, that is for sure. And also, another thing that the author pointed out is the quality of things that were made back in the 80s and the 70s. If you bought a refrigerator, you bought a stove, you bought a coffee maker, you bought a washer, dryer, you bought furniture, it was built to last. The stuff you buy today, you're lucky if you get 3 or 4 or 5 years out of a refrigerator before you have to call a technician out to fix it. Stuff is just built to break. It is really, really sad. People need to accept the reality, or they will never fix what is broken, according to the author. And that is something that I think we can really apply to many facets of our life. People need to accept reality, or they will never fix what's broken. And I was boxing this morning with Coach Lionel, and we were talking about, you know, how people, when you approach people with facts, you could debate somebody, you could have a conversation with somebody, and you give people facts, and they just won't even believe the facts. You could, you know, I think there's people that would argue, you know, if the sky, you look up the sky, it's blue, they would argue that it's not. People today just don't live in the real world. They live in these bubbles. And this is why so many things are broken and cannot be fixed, because people won't realize and don't realize the reality that things are broken. How can you fix things that are broken if you don't realize, if you don't admit, if you don't comprehend that they're broken? You cannot fix them. Delusion and wishful thinking are not a successful survival strategy. So a good article. If you get a minute, check it out. But there's a lot of truth in that. But there is a lot of wishful thinking out there. There's a lot of delusion out there. So be careful who you're listening to, how you're walking through life, and how you're adapting to things. A lot of people just go, well, it's just fate. I'll leave it in God's hands. I'll hope for the best. You know, you got to take action. You got to take action, and people who live in the real world, not a bubble, realize that you have to take action, especially if something's broken. You have to admit it's broken in order to fix it, and that's I think one of the first steps this country is going to need to do is to admit that we're in big trouble, that we're divided, that we're bankrupt, that we're not as advanced or sophisticated militarily as many other countries are, like Russia and China now, and that we're falling behind. Until you admit that, you know, our education system is falling behind, our military is falling behind, our economy is falling behind, the US dollar is falling behind, the debts are getting bigger. Until you admit that there's a problem, how do you fix it? I don't know how you're going to fix all this, but we can't even admit that there's a problem. Los Angeles approves $30 hourly tourism wage. Hotels say they'll convert to homeless shelters. City Council, the Los Angeles City Council voted to pass a $30 minimum wage for hotel and airport workers, along with an additional health care benefit starting at $8.35 per person. This is going to be achieved by 2028. Right now, these workers are making around $19 an hour. February 1st, 2025, they're going right to $25 an hour, and they will get a steady increase until 2028. Then they will be making $30 an hour. This is going to bury businesses, ladies and gentlemen, in Los Angeles. And many of these hotels, like it said right here, they're just going to convert to homeless shelters because they just can't afford to do this. Think about how this is going to be passed on to the average person in Los Angeles. It's going to be passed on to you and me. This is going to be very inflationary. Now we're paying people $30 an hour working at airports and hotels in Los Angeles. This is absolutely absurd. And this is only going to get passed on to you and me. Very inflationary. $1.5 trillion commercial real estate debt due by 2025. Delinquency rate for office loans has surged to 10.4%, just shy of the peak back in the during the great financial crisis of 2008. Small and regional banks are dangerously exposed. 150 to 228% of their total risk capital is tied to these loans. This is an absolute ticking time bomb, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody talks about it. Nobody is talking about how they're going to pay this debt down, how they're going to slow spending down. Nobody wants to talk about this. I think this administration is starting to, and I think they've got some good ideas. But you think about just the interest on the debt right now, over $1 trillion. This is going to be very, very difficult. And the only way you're going to be able to attack this debt is to slow down spending. And when you slow down spending, that means a lot of people are going to feel a lot of pain. All it takes is a 10% loss in commercial real estate loans to render 100 banks undercapitalized. At 20%, that number jumps to 900. When banks fail, it says, it's not just their problem. It means lending tightens, jobs vanish, property values collapse. It's going to be your problem. 2025, I think we're going to see some banking problems. I think we're going to see some banks in very, very big trouble because this ticking time bomb, the commercial real estate market, is going to begin to implode. You can only kick the can so far. They've been kicking it by readjusting these loans. But sooner or later, the piper must get paid. The Fed will not be able, if it gets bad, and hundreds of these small regional banks get into trouble, the Fed is not going to be able to bail out hundreds of banks. It is not going to happen. Somebody is going to get very, very hurt here, and it's going to be the small regional banks. Washington food banks brace for 10 million visits as families struggle with high grocery prices. I mean, it's just really unbelievable what we're watching take place here in America. I just saw on the news here, North Carolina, these people freezing in North Carolina. I think they now have come to an estimate of about $53 billion in damage from that storm. We've got people freezing. We've got people here in Washington State that 25% of Washington residents are food insecure. That's 1 out of 4. That is unbelievable. Last year, their food bank saw 8 million visits. 72 million pounds of food was given out at 300 food banks. This year, it's going to be 10 million people at food banks. I mean, 20% are 2 million more people than the previous year. That is unbelievable. It really, really is unbelievable. And where is all the money going? Why are these people in North Carolina not getting any help? Why are these people in Washington struggling? It's unbelievable. Where is the money going? Central banks back up bullion trucks. October was the highest net purchase month in 2024. Central banks purchased 60 tons of physical gold in October. Through the third quarter of 2024, they purchased 694 tons of physical gold. And I have to ask all of you, please comment down below, what do they know is going on that they're so dedicated to owning this hard, tangible, yellow asset? What is driving them to be stockpiling this stuff at the rate that they're doing it at right now? Let me know your thoughts on that. I'm thinking about making another purchase myself this week. SD Bullion, link down below if you need help. If you're on the fence and you need a legitimate, good, reputable place to buy your gold, silver. I've been dealing with SD Bullion for over 7 years, so you can go to my link down below. They'll take very, very good care of you. But if you're on the fence and you think that maybe this is a good time since we've had a nice pullback, I think it's a good time to buy right now. And I think I was just talking to Enrique today, and I just said I think one of the things right now that is undervalued while everything is overvalued, I think gold is probably one of the most undervalued assets on planet Earth right now, even at the price it's at right now. You look at all these cryptos, you look at the markets, you look at real estate, I think gold is probably the most undervalued asset right now out of them all. So if you need help with that, go to my link down below, SD Bullion. Peter Schiff, the economy needs deflation. I couldn't agree more. He says, as we add trillions of dollars a quarter to the national debt, the markets expect a cut, but a cut is not warranted. The Fed should continue to hike. I've been saying this for a long time. They did not hike long enough. They did not hike it high enough, and I think they're going to pay a big, big price here because inflation is not going away. I went to the grocery store the other day. I could not believe a little bag of potato chips, $2.99. One of those little bags. $2.99. Those were literally the ones I would used to throw in my lunch. $2.99 just for a bag of chips. You want a little thing of sliced watermelon. It's like $9. I mean, who is able to do this week after week after week? I can't even imagine a family of 4, 5, or 6 what they must be going through right now. It is complete insanity when we look at this. It's in the government's best interest to have inflation, so they have to continue to convince the public that it's good for them. That's how they give you something for nothing. Very, very true. Wow. As we wind down 2024, everything that's going on, especially now with all this drone stuff this month, it's just unbelievable what is going on, and this new administration that's coming in, the new faces, there's going to be a lot of controversy. It's going to be a wild 2025, but man, it is going to be real wild as we wind down 2024. The country is in shambles socially, it's in shambles financially, it's in shambles spiritually. It is a complete and utter disaster. Somebody wrote the other day, this guy's been talking about a collapse for years. Just go back 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago and tell me how much better it was then than it is now, and how much worse it has gotten. I will say that since I've been making these videos for about 7 years, it is so much worse now than when I started. It is so much worse now. $36.2 trillion in debt. Your Social Security is basically going to be broken in 2034. Wars everywhere. A nation that is divided, a crime rate that we have never seen in our life, food insecurity that we have never seen in this country ever before, and it continues to get worse and worse and worse as millions of people stand in lines now on a daily basis to get food. We've got things flying in our skies that we have no idea apparently what they are, what they're doing, who's flying them. And people think that we're not watching a collapse take place right now. We've been watching a collapse of this nation take place for years. I would probably argue to say that things really collapsed back in 2008 and have been collapsing ever since. So you can say, you know, your house has doubled in price and that's wonderful. But other than that, by the way, it did that because they offered 2.65% rates and they pumped $7 trillion into the economy, which has now caused an inflation nightmare in this country. Anybody that thinks that this country isn't collapsing right now, you are drinking the Kool-Aid. You are delusional. You are fooling yourself. This country has never been in worse shape than it is right now. That is a fact, period. When you look at the data, go to the national debt clock and just look at the amount of debt per capita, what each individual taxpayer owes. Take a look at the problem with these pension funds. Look at the problem with the banks right now. Look at the overvalued stock market. Why can't anybody buy a house right now? Why does it take literally 3 people in a household now just to make ends meet? Why are so many people unable to pay their utility bills in this country? They can't even put food on their table. And tell me that things aren't collapsing. Tell me to my face that things are not collapsing in this country right now. It is a disaster. And I pray to God nightly, every night, that he really, really helps this next administration and that we can at least begin to stop the bleeding. Because this country has a big hole and it is bleeding out. I've never seen it in such disarray. It is a disaster. You know it. I know it. Anybody that argues and wants to debate otherwise, you are fooling yourself. The numbers, the real numbers, do not lie. Fans of CEO slain suspect Luigi Mangione are actually tattooing his face onto their skin. This is how sick our society is now. Another reason, you're watching a societal collapse, a spiritual collapse in America. Who in their right mind? This guy, look, just took the life of another human being, a husband, a father, took the life of this man, and now people are getting his face tattooed onto their bodies. And yet, there'll be people that will tell me that things aren't collapsing. This is just another example of a societal collapse. Again, you look at how society acts. I was at the store the other night, and I see these young girls come into the store in their teens, early, probably late, I would say 17, 18, 15, whatever. And they're coming in their slippers and their pajamas into a grocery store. And I just remember going back, if you go back into the 80s, I don't think I knew a girl that would ever go to a grocery store, let alone anywhere in public, in her pajamas and slippers. People just didn't do that. I've been to numerous restaurants over the year, and people just walk in their pajamas. I've seen men walk in with their pajamas, their little, Spider-Man pajamas and Superman pajamas and their slippers, and they come into the store, they come into a restaurant. And this is people today. These are, people that are like in their 20s doing this. And as I said, these girls were teenagers, but I've seen people in their 20s do it, 30s do it. This is society today. No respect. They have no respect how they look, no respect how they carry themselves. People walk around like zombies. This is a collapsing nation, ladies and gentlemen. If something doesn't turn around very, very soon, it will be a collapsed nation. Let me know your thoughts on that. Do you see people just walking around like slobs? I mean, this is just a observation, not a judgment, but an observation. If you look like a slob, you look like a slob. You're walking around in your slippers and your pajamas out in public at a grocery store or a restaurant, you are a slob. You are a slob. And usually they're very dirty pajamas, dirty slippers, just dirty slops. So let me know if you've run into that. You know, I just remember back in the day, people really carried themselves different. They cared about their appearance, how, you know, how they dressed. You know, they took care of their bodies. You know, your body is your temple, and you should really, really take care of it. But you really should have a little self-respect. I think it's good for people. You know, when you go to work, you pick up a paycheck, you have that respect that you earn that money, you earn that paycheck. When you look in the mirror and you're taking care of yourself, you just have a little more respect for yourself. And I think that's good to have. I don't think that's superficial. I think that that's good to have some self-respect and be taking care of yourself. You don't have to wear a three-piece suit. You don't have to wear a $300 shirt. But my God, do you have to walk around in slippers and pajamas? I mean, it's absolutely disgusting. Slobs. I'm going to leave it there today. I don't want to rant. It's not a fashion show, but comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. God bless every one of you. Stay safe out there. We got drones flying out here all over the place now. Maybe they're coming to a town near you. Stay safe, be careful, and be praying for this country. Take care.